In this video, we're going to look at Fathom Analytics, an alternative to Google Analytics that's more well suited for websites and companies that don't need all the bells and whistles of Google and also would like to have a privacy-focused analytics tool in their tech stack. So we're going to set up a pretty basic account, a slightly more advanced setup of Fathom, and then we're going to look at what you can do once you have everything set up. We're also going to see how many times I can say analytics in one video. So let's dig in and get started. Hi, my name is Kyle. I'm the creator of No Code Collab, a site where we look at different no-code tools and tips and tricks and give you different ideas for your next no-code project. So if you haven't already, jump on over to No Code Collab and sign up for our email. One thing to note, I am not affiliated, sponsored, or being paid by Fathom. This is just a No Code Collab tutorial. That said, if you are interested and you would like to give Fathom a try, there is an affiliate link to sign up, so give that a click, and we appreciate your support. The elephant in the room and the behemoth in the analytics game is obviously Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free tool that is very convenient. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's really easy to integrate Google Analytics into other apps and websites. On Webflow, all you need is your Google Analytics site ID and you can paste it in and then you're all set up. Some of the benefits of Google Analytics are that it's free and it's quick to install and it's super powerful. Now, the downside of Google Analytics is that it's free, which means that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, and Google has access to all of this information. If you are a privacy-centric person or company, you just want to have your data be your data, Fathom is a better alternative than Google. Additionally, all of those bells and whistles can become quite overwhelming. If you don't have someone on staff or you don't have a vendor that you've hired to run it for you, you can get turned around and it can be really complex. It can be a lot of time learning and figuring out Google Analytics. So it can be very overwhelming. So with that said, in walks Fathom. Fathom is an analytics tool that is GDPR compliant. So you don't need to have one of those little banners show up on the bottom of your screen that says that you're tracking people. Now, if you have another tool that is tracking people, you will still need to have, you'll want to have one of those GDPR banners at the bottom, but you won't need that banner as a result of Fathom. Secondly, Fathom is all about a single page dashboard that shows you all about your analytics data. You can still slice and dice your data, which we'll look at in a second, but you shouldn't be overwhelmed or confused. It's pretty straightforward. You don't need to take classes or courses or read a bunch of blogs. I mean, you're reading this one, so thank you. The learning curve is a lot lower. Fathom is a really good option for clients or companies that want a more simplified analytics dashboard and don't necessarily want to go through the rigmarole of tracking cookies and having GDPR banners. So that is a little bit about where Fathom fits in. Once you have signed up for your Fathom account, you're going to come in. Now you won't have this zone at the top where it talks about the different sites. You won't have that, but you will have this part down here where it says create a new site. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a site and you're just going to name it whatever you want. So I'm going to call this test site. And when you create your test site, it's going to give you a site ID, CMS framework, which ours is Webflow. And then they're going to give you this code. Now, it doesn't really matter if you tell them which framework you use because they just give you some instructions. And actually, what I found is the instructions aren't the best way to install it onto Webflow because it talks about using an embed snippet or block, which is a little more inefficient. I like to just put it in the head of the code. So we'll talk about that in a second. But one thing to note is right away, you won't have this, and that's okay. So that won't show up. You will have everything below it. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy that code. Now I've got a blank project set up for another tutorial that we did, but you just want to head to your project settings. And once you're in your project settings, click on custom code, and you can paste that code right into the head where it says add code at the end of the head tag. You're then going to save the changes. You will then publish the site, and you can come back over and you can verify the site code. So if you look into your site though, this is the basic setup where you've just got their URL for the script file. Now this works and it's okay, but the one problem is that ad blockers might end up blocking this script from downloading onto the page, and then the people who are coming to your site might end up not being tracked in the analytics. So there is a slightly more advanced setup that we'll go into right now that should help Fathom still track people who come to your site, even though they might have an ad blocker up. Basically what you need to do is you need to update your DNS settings. So if you come over to domains and you type in your domain, and we'll type in test.com, and we're going to start this process. And now what they're going to do is they're going to give you some information to update on your DNS. So you're going to create a new CNAME record that's got goose and starman.fathomdns.com. I'm going to jump over. I use Google domains. I jumped in, I selected my domain. I'm now in my domain name settings. And all I need to do is create a new record. Every DNS looks a little different, so apologies if you're not on Google domains. But I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy goose. I'm going to put goose in my host name. And then I'm going to change my type to a CNAME, and then I take starman.fathomdns and I paste that right in there. Once I save that, now my DNS is updated. Those records can take some time to kind of make their way around the interwebs, but while that is still going on, what I can do is I can go back here and I can say goose.test.com. And when I go to my sites, if you remember when I looked here, how we had cdn.usefathom.com, what I can do now is I go back to my code that I just pasted in the header, and I take that, I delete it, and I'm going to put it right there. So now, instead of downloading the script from usefathom.com, it thinks it's from our domain because we updated our DNS records, right? So anyway, it's a little more technical, but the idea now is that once you have that set up, ad blockers and other tools that prevent users from being anonymous on the internet, when they come to this site, they will still download this script and still allow that user to be counted towards the Fathom Analytics data. One of the things to just remember on this, though, is that we're not tracking anyone's personal information. We're not storing any PII. This is fully GDPR compliant. So this little advanced setup is just so that we can get more accurate data for Fathom. Now we're all set up. If you want to, you can come back and you can look at your sites. You can add more sites. You can have dozens, or I think maybe even unlimited sites on here. And the nice thing is that if you click on this Fathom logo, you can see all of the sites that you have on the on Fathom. So No Code Collab that we just started, just launched recently, so we don't have much user data, so it's actually not all that interesting, but you can see you can change the dates and different date ranges. You can see content refers. What I'm going to do is jump over. They've got a sample portal that has a little more data in it, so it's a little more fun to look at. So what you can see is when you come to your site, this will start to gather all the information, and all you need to do if you want to create a segment or like dive into anything more, you want to say how many people are coming from DuckDuckGo, right? We can see that from January 1st to December 31st of 2021, this is all of our traffic from DuckDuckGo. We can also, See all the people from DuckDuckGo that saw our about page. So these are basically our segments that we're creating. And so it's pretty easy. You can see the page never really changes. We can set up events, which we will talk about in a future video, but it's pretty straightforward. It's hard to get lost in Fathom, which is a good thing in my opinion. So now let's look at one of the cool features of Fathom, which is their email notifications. So if you want, you can set up email notifications per site. So what you can do is you can come down and you can say, I want to send this report to me. Put in whatever email, if you have a client email, if you have a coworker, but you can enter in an email address, and I want to get a monthly report from test site. And if I create that report now, you'll see that Kyle at No Code Collab is getting a report from test site, and it's a monthly report from test site. I could switch it and update it to weekly, and it's gonna, maybe I want it to be from all of them, right? So Fathom will now automatically email you in just a couple clicks. It'll email you a weekly or monthly report based on the sites that you've selected. So that's one of the really cool features of Fathom, is that not only is it simple to set up and it's simple to read the dashboard, but now you can very quickly create these automated reports that come out every week or every month and either come to you or your team or your clients. Now you're actually getting a lot more value out of your analytics tool because you're being updated on your analytics on a regular basis. Hopefully this tutorial on Fathom was helpful and you want to give it a try. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.